Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris.
And going to question, where is it? So talk us through. So someone mentioned the refs. So we'll talk about the league itself. So give us like your perspective of the league, the refs. I know someone mentioned don't tell me about the refs. So give us all your perspective on how the refs.
Benny should go first because she's the ref's favorite player. So
I know how hard it is to ref a game. I actually do have a level 2 referee qualification.
Really?
I really enjoy reffing. And I think a lot of refs haven't played at a high level, so they don't know the feel of the game. And I also think a lot of refs, I don't know what it is, but like a reaction, they become defensive, even if the reaction isn't at them. And I find that really difficult. So if I react and then you tell me to quieten down, I'm going to get louder. And you can give me a technical or whatever, but I'm going to let you know that you are not managing the game correctly. Like, their reaction, like don't tell me I'm not allowed to react when I go to BBL games and I hear them effing and blinding. Yeah, but I can't sigh. Do you know what I mean? I can't laugh. Actually, I laugh and you eject me out of a game. Okay, yeah. So that's how I feel about refs, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just what.
The older referee, like the more experienced referees, like I enjoy the games with them. The ones that, because I feel like the older referees make an effort to know you, like off the court, and they'll talk to you. And so when they're on the court, like sometimes, like, I'm the same as Rianne. Like if I lose, like, am I allowed to swear? Like if I lose my stuff, I lose my stuff. So, but sometimes it can be like one of the older referees will literally just be like, just like take a minute, calm down. That is all it takes, because they build that relationship with you off the court. I think like with newer referees, I do agree with Rianne. Like sometimes I feel like there's this sort of, and it's probably our fault as well, because we don't trust a referee until we've seen them referee a long time. So maybe they feel a little bit defensive as well. But there's not the same sort of like rapport, I don't think.
I just feel like the younger ones, I think they feel like it's their job to prove themselves, and like that's what I think. If you say one thing to them, they're just like, no, I'm going to assert my authority here because this is my like second WBBL game ever, and I'm showing you I'm not going to take anything from you. And it's just like, well, that was the wrong call though. Just take it on the chin.
Yeah, the best referees are definitely the ones who will have a conversation. Yeah. Like if you ask why a call is made, sometimes you're actually asking, like you're not trying to be funny, you actually want the answer, and then when they just walk away and ignore you, I'm like, no, that was actual.
Yeah, but they do that because they and they don't know.
I find it hard.
They can't admit it.
I find it hard because I'm a stronger guard. So, for instance, if I'm going to the basket, if Nick fouled me, they're like, you should be able to take it. I'm like, but if I foul her, it's going to be a foul, right? And so the excuse I always get is like, well, she didn't, like, you know, your shot wasn't really struck. I'm like, but it's a foul. And so I hate when I get BS answers back, because then that makes me upset. And then I just go get a foul for no reason. I go foul to prove a point. And then Lane gets upset. And, you know, it's just like, it's just
about, imagine being a big person in the league.
I'm 6'5".
You get hacked. You get hacked, and they didn't call anything. And you go down there and you give them like a hip bump, like off the ball, and they're like foul. And you're like,
I just think it's inconsistent as a player. You don't know like how to kind of gauge the game. Like if I'm as a player, I'm like, okay, this is how they're calling the game. And if they're consistent with that, then I can adjust my game. But if I get away with it here and you've allowed it to go on, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, we're going to do it this way, that's kind of hard to adjust, and it messes up the flow of the game sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like that goes along with what Rianne was saying, because like I like to play like physical, and I know like if you were refereeing the BBL, there is so many things that they allow in that we're not allowed to do, and it's really frustrating because I would much rather a ref like blow less and let us like go at it and let us enjoy the game and be consistent with it. But then you get some referees that let you do that, and then you get some referees that you like can't even touch anyone, and it's like a foul. Like I just wish it was the same for like the men's and women's game.
Like at one point we were in the final, one of the finals at the O2, and the guy I was asking him about a call, and he was like, he said something along the lines like, "You guys want to be able to play, right?" And I didn't know how to respond to that because I'm like, "What do you mean? Are you reffing us based off us being females and them being guys, or are you reffing basketball players?" Because then we could talk, but I don't know what you mean by letting us play. I'm like, I don't really, so we just sat there in a staring match because I'm like, I don't get what what you want me to say to that. So.
Do you feel at times that they ref the games different to how they would ref the BBL games sometimes?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Okay.
But also, don't the BBL have 3 refs and we're still stuck with 2? Like the rest of Europe, like they have 3 refs or like international games all with 3 refs and we're stuck with 2.
Yeah.
So did Division 1 men. Division 1 men have 3 refs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
So Division 1 men have 3 refs and you guys still have 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different approach. So what is that something you'd like to see more though in a WBBL game, like 3 refs in the WBBL game as opposed to 2?
Yeah, because we get them at finals, don't we? They put 3 on finals.
Yeah.
And it does just mean there's so much more to see, and equally, it normally means there's 2 more experienced refs. So they have those conversations about the direction which the game's going.
Mm-hmm.
And the more experienced refs, it's like we were saying earlier, the ones that have been around the game longer, I feel, don't let the score influence how they referee either. Whereas the younger ones, if they have a preconceived idea of how a closer game should be, or whatever, and I feel like they always feel like they need to even out the foul count. Well, no, because if the other team's fouling more, they should get more. You don't need to try and even it out in second half just because you've looked at the score sheet at half time. And I mean, like I say, I don't referee, unlike Rianne, and I would never referee. So I find it hard to criticise. But when you're in the game, not knowing what they're going to call from quarter to quarter, let alone week to week, can make it hard to adjust. And like, particularly if you're a more physical player who is going to deliberately commit some fouls along the way, you've not got a lot left to play with.
Yeah, sure.
All right. And like I said again, did you feel as well they approach the game different to BBL games? Some of them.
I mean, I know that this is like something that I actually heard with my own ears, like at one of the regional development tournaments, with, where they play like East Midlands, West Midlands, London, or that it's the younger ones, like where you represent your region, and they use it to like help younger referees practice. And I have physically heard a referee get annoyed because they were put on the final of the girls and they hadn't had the men's yet, and literally ask, like, why are you putting me on all the girls' games? Is it because you don't think I'm as good a referee? And it's like, it's a culture that needs changing. Like, there's no difference between like the BBL and the WBBL.
Yeah.
Like, there is no difference. Like, if you look at most setups of most teams, they have better social media. It might look a bit different, but there isn't. Like, there isn't a difference, and we shouldn't be treated any differently. And that sort of mindset, it has to change. That you don't just ref women's games to get to the men's games. That's not how it should be.
Out of interest, do they get? I don't know the answer to this. Do they get paid more for doing men's game than women's games, or is it the same?
So
know that wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know that. But I wouldn't surprise.
I don't know.
I would assume it'd be the same, but it's across 3 people, so they all get. Do you know what I mean? So technically, the referee budget is bigger. This is my opinion. I don't know if it's right. This is what I assume is what's going on, but I don't know.
I think it's a bit biased too when you go to certain teams and you get the same type of refs. Like if, for instance, like no disrespect, but when we come up to like Sheffield, it's pretty much the same ref. So we walk in the gym like, oh, here we go. Like,
that's because we live in the middle of nowhere. There's no. Wait, it's because we live in the middle of nowhere. We haven't got the to go steal refs from.
Right, it's always the same like kind of ref. So we're like, okay, me and Kat just kind of look at each other like, okay, it's gonna be one of those games. Just got to get through it. And I think that sucks. Like, you shouldn't go to a game and see a ref and think, okay, this might be a hard one, or I don't know what game they're gonna call today. I just think
we always say the same up in the northeast, like Newcastle, Northumbria, or whatever, because again, I think they have the same problem. There's kind of, short of pulling refs down from Scotland or whatever, you get the same people, because we often have the same reaction, and it's hard because. And I think that is kind of a guilty conscience like thing on our part, that we do kind of have that mindset before we go into a game. So the first call they make that's questionable, you're at them or whatever. But I do definitely think, and I don't know whether it's because people aren't willing to travel as far to do women's games. I don't know what it is, but you do always see the same faces, and then sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not.
I think that the further they travel, the more expensive it is for the club. So the club tries to get people from closer because then the travel expenses aren't as much.
Yeah.
They should respect the women's game a bit more, because obviously the women, in terms of achievement, they've achieved more than the men. Like, you girls have just won the English women, especially, won a silver medal. The men didn't come back with a medal at all in the Commonwealth Games. So I do think there is that.
Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris.